Well, I guess the mystery's over about why Nate Diaz wants a fight or why he wants to get released. I guess it wasn't really much of a mystery anyway, but he definitely solved any lingering doubts that anybody had because he just tweeted this. He put on Twitter, UFC, I want to fight right now, or July or August, I got things to do. And with a clip of Jake Paul knocking out Tyron Woodley. So that's what he's doing. He's going to fight Jake Paul, or at the very least, that's what he's trying to do. And I understand, I guess, why he wants to do it. He thinks he's going to make an enormous amount of money, right? But is he going to make more money doing that than he would fighting Conor? In all seriousness, is Nate going to make more money fighting Jake Paul than he would fighting Conor? I doubt it. You know? Like, if the UFC wants to, they can afford to pay Nate $10 million all day for that fight. All day. They could probably guarantee him $10 million for that fight if they really wanted to. You know? And the Masvidal fight, they could pay him pretty close to that too, I would imagine. Because if Nate is absolutely staunch, feet in the cement, like, I am going to fight Jake Paul, then the UFC has to bring out the big guns, right? Like, they have to offer him something that, well, I mean, Jesus, man, there's actually a lot of layers to this because they have to offer him something if they think he'll take it. If Nate is just like, I'm not taking anything no matter what, then you get into this other thing. You know what I mean? But you think that, like, the first layer of negotiation is going to be, okay, we got you. What if we offer you this, right? And they offer him a big ass number. You know, guarantee him 2 fights for $20 million or something. I mean, I don't know if the UFC would make them that offer or whatever, but, like, I bet he'd be worth it if those 2 fights were going to be Conor and Masvidal. But then they have to go get Masvidal and Conor to agree to those fights, because if it's not those 2, then that's an outlandishly overpaid fighter, you know? But I mean, I don't envy the UFC's job, man. I really don't. Like, I don't envy having to deal. Well, I guess it's actually specifically, it sounds like it's Hunter Campbell's job. Because if I'm like hypothesizing what this is like, right? Hunter is the one who I know Hunter's the one that deals with the fighters and the offers and all that stuff. So, like, he basically is responsible for signing these guys, for not making deals that are going to hurt the UFC. Simultaneously, he's really responsible for not losing fighters. And he answers to the scariest dude ever. Like, Dana is, Dana smiles and laughs in the press conference. But if you guys didn't see that clip back when, remember when Izzy was, well, I guess everybody didn't really know this, but, like, Izzy was holding out before he got the new contract that he got, right? So before the Robert Whittaker fight, they had that fight announced, but Izzy had not signed, right? And then he did that thing where he tweeted out like, the Whittaker bout agreement is signed with a cap. You know, again, I learned what a cap means at the time, which means it's not true. And so someone asked Dana about it in the press conference, and they were like, hey, so what do you know about Izzy saying that the Robert Whittaker fight is signed because he put a cap? And Dana's like, what? He's like, yeah, he had a cap on it. And Dana's like, I don't understand what that means. Well, it means it's not true. Izzy is saying that he hasn't signed that bout agreement. And Dana's like, what? Because they had already announced it, right? Like, they're already promoting it. And he kind of, like, looks off stage, and he starts talking to Hunter, and he's asking him whether or not it's signed or not. And the interaction, I mean, like, if you could read the room, like, Dana's scary, man. Like, because Hunter had to tell him that, yeah, no, it's not signed. And he clearly, Dana did not know that. Like, you saw this interaction where Dana didn't realize that Izzy had not signed that bout agreement, and they were out promoting it already. And, it was very obvious that what the power dynamic is there. I mean, that's not shocking. Obviously, Dana's the czar of UFC, but, like, you know, in this situation, Hunter's probably the one negotiating with Nate, and he has to come to Dana. Dana is not going to be happy if they lose Nate, right? But Dana's got a good relationship with Nate. But again, I'm not sure. if you're trying to negotiate with a guy, generally you want to understand what their decision process is. Like what's the, like in high-end sales, like high-level sales, like what I do when you deal with these big deals, like with these huge companies, you have a formula for mapping the deal out, where it's like, okay, so what metrics are going to drive their decision? How are they going to measure success? What's their decision criteria? What's their decision process? Like who talks to who? Who has to sign off? Who's the economic buyer? Like all this stuff. And with Nate, I feel like I wouldn't have any idea how to fill that out. Like if it's like, all right, so what's his decision criteria? I'd be like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I have no idea. Okay, well, usually for a fighter, it's just money. I know. Yeah, I know. I offered him more money than he'll make with Jake Paul. Well, does he know that? I don't know. I have no idea what he's being told. He's not supposed to be negotiating with anyone. So, like, technically, he shouldn't be able to compare what I'm offering to another offer because he's not supposed to be negotiating with anyone. He's under contract, And that's like kind of the tricky thing about this situation is like, technically, if Nate is talking to another promoter, like if Nate's just assuming that there's a Jake Paul fight out there, which is not impossible, that's kind of what he's doing. He's just assuming. I would say unlikely. I would assume he's probably talked to someone. But if they've gotten into the weeds on numbers, he is violating his contract. And the UFC, I think, could sue the other promoter. I don't really know, though. I don't know if that's like a real thing that they can do or if they just threaten it, whatever. I have no idea. But nonetheless, I still don't really know what Nate Diaz's decision criteria is. Maybe he just wants out of the UFC, he wants to go do it, fight with Jake Paul, and he thinks he'll just come back. Because he probably would, right? Like, the UFC is not going to blackball Nate Diaz just because he went and fought Jake Paul. So, if I'm the UFC and I'm looking at this situation, I'm like, all right, so I just offered him more money than he'll make with Jake, and he still said no. What does his contract have an end date? Who knows? And if his contract did have an end date, can he just go fight? Because Chael said in the Ngannou situation that if Ngannou just went and fought Tyson Fury, that it wouldn't matter what's in the contract. They still have to figure it out in court, right? And so I don't understand. I don't think it would be any different with Nate, although it's possible that Dana would be more reluctant to go to court with Nate. Maybe. Because him and Nate do have a good relationship. Like Nate fucks around, but he's super respectful of Dana and the organization. Like even when he's pissing on the building, he somehow is doing it where it's not super disrespectful. But yeah, I mean, and if he fights Jake Paul, what's going to happen in that fight? Like honestly, what's going to happen in that fight? I don't feel like I know what MMA fighters are going to look like in boxing with boxing gloves. I really don't feel like I have any idea what any of these guys will look like when they box. Maybe like someone like Calvin Kattar or someone, like someone with like real crisp boxing that basically is just boxing. Like Josh Emmett and Calvin Kattar, they just boxed, man. They didn't throw any kicks. They didn't try to do any takedowns. They just boxed. That was a bare knuckle boxing fight, which was really fun. But like most guys, like with Nate, who has any idea what he's going to look like in boxing gloves? And Jake Paul can bang, son. He can bang. I don't know, dude. And now Logan Paul is calling out Paddy Pimblett in MMA. I mean, look, that is a. I'll just comment on that real quick because I might do another video on it. That's bizarre. And the only reason I say that is because, like, Dana's not going to do a circus fight. Like, if you want to fight in the UFC, then you're going to have to do it at a weight class where both guys are that weight. Logan's huge. Like, Logan's a huge dude. Paddy fights at 145. I mean, maybe walks around at 175 or something like that. But that's still 30, 35, 40 pounds less than Logan. He's not making that weight. So, and Paddy's under contract. So I mean, like, how do you think you're going to fight Paddy Pimblett? So is he just trying to get headlines? It's possible. I don't know. But as long as the UFC doesn't give Nate a fight, then technically he's like still under contract because, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, dude. I don't know how this thing gets worked out. If I was the UFC, I would just offer Nate the Conor McGregor fight, pay him more than he would make with Jake Paul, and be done with it. If he won't take it, then fuck, I don't know, dude. But at least we know what Nate wants, right? I don't know. That's what I got. Peace.